Hello, friends. Welcome aboard the Round Trip Stories podcast, where we share stories of moving around the world and back again, reflecting on the lessons we've learned along the way. My name is Melissa.
And my name is Tracy, and we are so glad you're joining us for today's episode. Welcome back to part 2 of our interview with adult third culture kid Sherene Joseph, a writer and storyteller born in Tamil Nadu, India. She moved back to India for university studies after growing up in Oman from the ages of 4 to 17 years old. Sherene later married and moved to the U.S. with her own family. In this part of her interview, she shares her stories of returning to India and not being able to fully share about her growing up in Oman. As time went on, she realized that she shouldn't lock up those experiences, which were so much a part of her. So, buckle your seatbelts and make sure your tray tables and seats are in their upright positions as part 2 of Sherene's round trip story gets ready for takeoff.
So we are back with Sherene, and we are going to be listening to part 2 of her stories and are excited to get to hear more about your life in different places around the world.
So, Sherene, please remind us where you lived abroad and how long you were there.
Okay, so I lived abroad in the Sultanate of Oman, which is a little country in the Middle East. It's very close to Dubai, for those who do not know where Oman is. But I lived there from the age of 4 till 17. And then I came back to the south of India, which is where I'm from, to go to college and to go to grad school. But my parents continued to live in the Middle East for all the way up to 2012. So I did keep going back on holidays. So I had a little bit of a connection even after 17.
I see. And then,
Sherene, would you please share with our audience what you do and where you are now?
Okay, so now I am based in Dallas, Texas, here in the United States. And what do I do? I tell people I'm an aspiring writer.
that's a great job.
But yes, I'm a writer. I'm a storyteller. I love research and all sorts of the good stuff in the intersection of faith and community and culture.
And you have had some articles published by
Yes, I have.
some larger organizations. So
Yes, yeah.
we will share some of those too in our show notes and things so people can read some of your writing.
Yes, thank you.
For sure. You have an article with Christianity Today.
I have a few with CT, and I've written for a few other places. I started this writing journey in the pandemic after graduating from seminary, and God has just been faithful to lead me to places where people have been willing to hear my story. It's been a journey for me also as I'm kind of unpacking my story and seeing God's redemptive work in my life.
Let's hear some more stories.
So we want to hear some stories about moving back to India from Oman, and then about the years since then as well. So can you tell us a story about your initial re-entry transition to living in India?
Yeah, and so obviously the re-entry back into India from Oman was for school, right? So I was applying to go to undergrad, and this was the day where we wrote our application. So everybody had to go turn in the paperwork at the front desk. And so I wanted to do a bachelor's in English. So I was very clear on that. And so there were 3 big universities or schools, which all came under the same university in my hometown, which were really good to do an undergrad in English. Everybody tried to get into these schools. And so we applied, we filled out all the paperwork, got my test results, everything done, submitted, and I got turned down in all the 3 colleges.
Oh, no.
They kept saying that I did not have a course in my transcript called Advanced English. That particular course is not technically offered in the Central Board of Education. So it was like a combined English curriculum, but they didn't have this advanced English. And so because that wasn't there on my transcript, I didn't get a seat in these 3 schools. And so it was overwhelming for my mother because she had no idea what to do. She had to go back to Oman for work, and the daughter wasn't enrolled in a school as yet. So they didn't know what to do with me. And so there was a college right next door to my grandmother's house, as in you could walk to it in 3 minutes.
Wow.
It's like a common wall. And it's a Hindu college. It's very devout Hindu. Not the most top-ranking college in the city, but okay. And my grandmother said, hey, why don't you take her and just fill out an application for this school? And my mom was like, no, it's a Hindu school. They don't have like boarding. Where would she stay? And my grandmother was like, just go apply. If she gets accepted, she can stay with me. It's right next door. I've got an extra room and she can stay with me and you'll be happy because she's safe and she's well taken care of. And so my mom was like, okay, fine, we'll just go. Because she had no option at that point. So we both walked over. I filled out all the paperwork. In 30 minutes, they called my name. She asked me a few questions as to what my score was here, there, everywhere. And she looked at all the paperwork and that was it. Stamp, stamp, stamp. I was enrolled in Bachelor's of English in that school, in that college. And so while we were standing in line, there was this other girl who was my age, also applying for the same course. And she was there with her aunt. And she was just talking to my mother nonstop. She's just chattering away to my mom. I'm an introvert. I don't talk much in public. And I was like, doesn't she ever shut up? I mean, she's just talking. Telling me about where she went to school and, what she did and why she's standing here, what she wants to do. And I'm like, I don't even know who you are. Just be quiet. But she also got accepted into the school. And she's like, oh, we're both going to be the same class. We'll take the classes together. I'll see you because I think school was going to start the following week. I'll see you next week. I'll meet you at the front gate. We can sit together. She spoke really good English, which was good for me because I did not speak Tamil very well, which is the language of my home state. And even though everybody was in the line applying for a degree in English, many of them were speaking Tamil. Okay. And my fluency was very, very bad. I could understand, but I couldn't keep up a conversation. But this girl, she spoke really good English. And I was like, fine, I'll meet you at the gate next week, whatever. Fast forward, and we're now in 2024, and she is one of the dearest friends in my life. She became such a good friend. She loved my grandmother because my house was right next door to the school, that all of my friends, after school was over, they would come to my house and, we'd sit and have snacks or coffee or tea. They all loved my granny, and my grandmother loved meeting all my friends. Oh. And she became one of my closest friends, and I'm so thankful that she didn't stop talking to me and my mother in line that day.
So tell us a story about something that was hard.
I definitely, I think the hardest part about coming back to India and learning to assimilate to the culture and the whole repatriation process, I missed Oman. I don't think I've even told my mother, but when the flight took off in the month of May, after I had graduated from high school and, we were coming back to India to get the process of applications going, I cried on that flight. I had a window seat, and it was a late night flight. It was like a 11 o'clock night flight. And so when I could see the flight take off and the lights over Oman, it was really, really hard for me because in my head, it was, even though I technically knew I was going to come back for Christmas in about 7 or 8 months, I felt that this is it. This part of my life is over. This chapter is closed, and I'm not really a resident there anymore. Now I really am the expat, who comes and goes in a month's time. And I cried pretty much for the next few years, because when I would come on vacation, like for summers, and I would go back to India, you can see the flight take off over the coast of Oman. So you can see the ocean and you can see the coastline of the country just fading away into the background as you leave. And yeah, I cried at every takeoff and I cried at every landing. And I think I finally stopped crying when I left Oman for the first time with both my children. And that was probably 2011. That was the last time that I was there. And our daughter was 2 and our son was 6. And that journey was probably the last time that I didn't cry anymore, because I knew that I was going somewhere else, and we were already in the US by then. So it was like a goodbye. I was like, thank you for this journey. I'm ready to transition out.
Wow.
So that was pretty hard.
That's a long time. I think I think that I'm sure that there is somebody out there, probably multiple somebodies out there, who will really appreciate hearing that, because I think that people often don't understand unless they have been through something similar. And so to know that it really can take that long. Not that you were crying, you weren't crying yourself to sleep every night or something for that many years, but that leaving every time can still be, it's hard.
It's bittersweet. I think that's the word that I would use, because you're thankful for what you have. You kind of want to hold on to parts of it still. Yeah. But you know that you have to move on. For me, it was a sort of growing up, and it was just I don't think I grieved it very well for a very long time. And so the grieving process took me a while, and because I had compartmentalized it so well in order to function.
Right.
And I was finally able to be like, okay, you know what? I got to grieve this, and it's
and that
okay.
grief, yes, and that grief will stay there, packed away, coming along with us everywhere we go until we finally let it out.
Release it.
And I'm sure that, you weren't just leaving a place you loved, but your parents were still there.
They were still there, yes.
So you were leaving them and separated from them too, so that it makes sense. So tell us a story about something that helped then or has helped since then with some of that.
Well, we as a family, we took my parents and we took my in-laws in 2018. We actually took them to Dubai. It was my dad's 70th birthday, and we wanted to do something special for him, but we didn't have time to go to India and kind of spend time in India and do stuff for, celebrate him there. And my parents love the Middle East. They love the Middle East. And I'm fairly familiar with parts of Dubai because growing up in Oman, we always took road trips to Dubai, sometimes on longer vacations. And if my father had like a business trip there, he would sometimes take my mom and me with him. It's 4 hours by road. So it was a fun road trip. It was like you put a pillow in the back seat and you can just sleep. Seat belts, who needs them? So this was a different time, right?
Yes.
So we took my parents back to Dubai, and of course, Dubai has changed so much since then. Everybody should go to Dubai. If you're listening to this podcast, make a trip to Dubai. You will love it. It's super fun. And I think going to Dubai, it was really good for me because I think what I felt when I got there, I knew more about the culture there than my husband and the kids did.
Sure.
So it felt like, I could tell them that this is what it is, or, this is how. And although Dubai is a lot more cosmopolitan than Oman, it's like a melting pot of cultures. But I knew the stores, I knew the restaurants, I knew the roads, I knew the Arabic words, what things mean, because I could translate in my head what this means and what that means. And it just felt like, okay, this is nice. I can expose my children to a little bit of Arab culture in Dubai. And it wasn't Oman, but it was just going back to the Middle East. And it felt good in my soul, kind of going back.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. And getting to bring your family, your husband and your kids so that they could experience a culture that was such a huge part of your life growing up.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So we have what we like to think of as a choose your own adventure set of questions. So you get to pick one of these questions to answer. So your choices are A, how often do you think about being or having been a TCK, and how much does it affect your life now? Or B, what are some favorite experiences that you have of connecting with other TCKs? Or C, do you have a favorite funny story about your time abroad or transition back that you would want to share? So which one of those questions do you want to answer?
Yeah, I think I'm going to answer A. And so how often do I think about having been a TCK now? I think about it a lot more now than I have in the last 20 plus years. Growing up and, my personality, I didn't necessarily hide it, but I do think that I took active effort to not talk about it much so I would not hurt the people around me. And this could be anybody. It could be family, friends, uncles, aunts, cousins, my in-laws, my husband. I just didn't want to give any of them an avenue to maybe make fun of me because of my life abroad. There were always people who came back and had a little bit of a superior kind of, I know more than you know, like I lived abroad and y'all haven't left the country. And so sometimes people would change, when they came back. You wouldn't be very complimentary about your country of origin. I think there's times my parents still do that, So I did not want to be that person. I didn't want to give them the ammunition, so to speak, to make fun of me. And I think that's part of my introverted tendencies. I keep a lot of those things bottled up to myself. But there was just a point where I was like, you know what? People have got to know that this is a huge part of my life. And it has blessed my life in many good ways. And I don't want to lock away my experiences or my childhood because they have made me who I am. Not that I want to make others feel uncomfortable, but I want to tell you my story. If you ask me my story, I would love to share with you parts of my story, which has made me me. So, I think it's a huge part of my life, and I'm happy about it.
I like how you said that you don't want to lock that away, because I imagine many people don't really have an opportunity to share this part of their life, but it makes them, it's the whole person, right?
You're not just Texan or you're not just South Indian.
Yeah.
You were also a South Indian living in the Sultanate of Oman in the Middle East.
Yes.
And that's, such a big part of your life. So we don't want to lock that away.
Yeah.
And I can see that, especially with moving from India to Michigan and then to Texas, your husband and your kids were also dealing with the transition of moving to the U.S. But then at some point, it seems like you realized, wait, my story is more layered than that.
Yeah.
You haven't just left behind India. You also have moved away from another place.
Yeah. Because if somebody that you meet, anybody, if they ask you, where'd you go to school? I'm going to have to go right back there where I went to school, right?
Right.
The moment you go back there, they'll ask you, oh, what were you doing there? So,
Yeah.
okay, so I can't exactly pretend that high school didn't happen, right? So it's always going to be a part of my life.
Yeah.
And ignoring it doesn't help me or help others, because then I end up building resentment.
Right. It doesn't help them know you better.
Know me wholly, yeah, as a person.
Sherene, I'm glad that you've been also talking about your parents and their experiences coming back as well, or staying, and then their readjustment to India.
Yes.
Is there anything that you wish your parents would have realized or known about raising a child outside the passport country, or known about you?
Yeah, so I wish we had resources like the book by David C. Pollock. I wish we had such books back then. I think all of our parents, when I look back at that generation, and I know so many people in that generation, they all did the best that they could for us. They moved abroad to give their children an opportunity for a better life. But I don't think they took the time to really understand how their choices impacted their children's lives. They made the choice like, okay, I'm going to go work there. I'm going to make extra money, send it back to my family. And my kids just need to be grateful for the fact that they have this amazing life. But it is a constant living between two cultures, and you don't really know what you're supposed to embrace. Because when I left the Middle East, I think my family and my parents expected me to know how to be the quintessential South Indian Tamil Christian girl. And I didn't know how to be that because I wasn't raised around that culture. I was just this little oddball who tried to do what her cousins were doing in order to fit in. And they didn't have the resources to help me. So I had to kind of figure it out for myself. And the process of trying to figure things out when you're 17 or 18 years old, it's so hard. So I wish my parents, or all the parents in that generation, had taken the time to teach us how to appreciate and be thankful for our country of our origin, and see the good in India, and see the benefits and the blessings of being in India and having that community and that family, while also really appreciating the diaspora community, because we were part of the diaspora Indian community. So you can appreciate both. You can get the blessings of one, you can learn from one, you can pour into one, and you can also appreciate your people back in India and just the value that your family, your culture of origin, all of that has. So I do believe that today's parents are doing a better job of that, trying to hold on to both, because that's what we are doing as a family. Our kids might be American born and American raised, but they have this duality to their lives. And it is very hard to balance that tension. But I think we're all called to do that as Christ followers. And I think that tension is a good thing, because it allows us to depend on God a lot more. And the beauty of the gospel is seen even as being a third culture kid. In just living this third culture life, because it sets us free from home and belonging, because you know that your identity is with Christ. So Dallas is not technically my home. India is not technically my home. It's my home because I live here, but I belong to Christ. So my identity is very framed in that. And the whole lack of stability which all third culture kids face is something which is mirrored in the life that we live as Christ followers, because I think our natural human tendency is to want to control every outcome, and we want these stable lives, but that's not what God has called us to. I mean, He has called us to trust in Him. So I think the gospel sets us free from this desire for constant control, and you can embrace the change, you can embrace the struggle by following Him and by trusting in Him through the periods of instability. And you also have this amazing worldview, which in Jesus's time they had, right? They had all of these cultures and people in the cities, and how he met everybody where they needed to be met. And so even those of us who have this global worldview, which we've been blessed to have, despite the fact that it's hard, it allows us to be more compassionate to the stranger, to the foreigner, to the other, no matter their status in life.
Thank you, Sherene. And tell us a final story about how your time abroad continues to add value to your life now.
Yeah, I think that the time abroad and just having so many of these movements from place to place has really helped me with my worldview on culture and on people, because there's just this freedom which comes from having lived in different spaces around different people. It teaches you to be more appreciative of other cultures. It teaches you compassion, to be welcoming of everyone who comes from a different background, to the people who don't look like you. You take the time to intentionally get to know people, ask them their stories, see if you can learn from them, learn about their experiences and their culture. And there's a beauty in that freedom, and it allows you to embrace people in a way which allows them to be wholly them and not have to try to fit into some kind of a cookie cutter image of what people think you ought to be.
And Sherene, what's one last word of encouragement or advice you can give to our listeners or adult third culture kids?
Yeah, I often tell my children, my husband and I both do this. We tell them to be open to new experiences, open to new people whom they meet. Be open to learning different things. Even when they go back to India and they go back to their grandparents' homes, there's still new things which they can learn and meet new people. And so we try very hard to teach them to be open. So this is what I would say. Just be open to meeting new people, people who are different from you, who don't look like you, who don't talk like you, who maybe speak a different language. Be open to trying different things. I think we all run the risk of living in little bubbles of comfort. I definitely do that, because there are times I just want to do what I want to do and be with the people that I want to be with. It's just easier.
I mean, who doesn't like being comfortable?
Yes, right?
Right?
It's just easy. But when you get the opportunity, whether it's at work or in your schools, in the communities, just be open to learning, asking questions, being curious, You don't have to be nosy, but you can be curious about other cultures and just asking good questions. We are increasingly living in a global world, and it is very good for us as followers of Christ to be open and always be willing to learn and to understand. It teaches us so much of compassion, and we follow a God who is so compassionate.
Well, Sherene, thank you so much for all of your stories. And I know that our listeners are going to appreciate hearing about Oman, about India, and about all of the stories that you've had being in those places.
Well, thank you for taking the time to listen to all of my stories. And I think you gave me the opportunity to just go back, walk down memory lane.
Yeah.
And that was really good for me. It's just been good for my soul.
As we land this interview, we hope that you have been inspired by Sherene's Third Culture Kid stories of returning to her passport country of India. During and after attending university in India, she remained tied to Oman, where her parents still lived. Sherene mourned a little every time she left Oman, and this continued until she had her young children and had moved to the United States. Our grief of leaving can last over many years, especially if we keep it locked up inside. Sherene no longer keeps her growing up years hidden because her past has made her who she is, and she highly values that she grew up around so many different people from around the world. She encourages us to have a deep curiosity for others' stories and to enjoy their beauty. Friends, no matter what leg of the journey you are on, we are so grateful you have brought us along with you.
Come back next time to hear from our next guest, Sam Fisher, an adult third culture kid who grew up in Indonesia as a missionary kid to an American dad and local Indonesian mom. He returned to the U.S. for small stints and then for college, and now a bookseller and dad of 4 in his 40s, understands that citizenship in God's family is much deeper than our culture.
If you're enjoying our podcast, we'd love it if you would leave us a review in your podcast app. And don't forget, you can visit our website at roundtripstories.com to see photos of our guests, to join our email list, and to share stories for upcoming customs episodes. And of course, tell your friends to travel the world with us. No passport, no packing, and no goodbyes required. Thanks so much for listening, friends. We'll see you next time.